Good morning.
Good morning.
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 Life, love, home, travel, health. Life Matters is on your radio.
I listen in the morning. It's my alarm. The alarm goes off, and there they are.
It's Life Matters with Dave and Nancy.
I think they're great.
My wife and I, we love it.
They're really, really funny, and I really, really like them.
Life Matters, sponsored in part by Delavan Automotive and Tire Center on your radio. On air, online. Lake 96.1.
Welcome to the show. Here we go.
Day 5 of the Walworth County Fair. It's had all 4 seasons except for winter.
Oh, give it a minute.
Isn't it amazing how I'm one of these individuals that looks at summer as Memorial Day weekend through Labor Day weekend? Even though technically June 21st
keeping
is
you in the know every weeknight on Lake 96.1.
Hotter than blazes.
Yeah.
Then this weekend, sweaters, snowshoes.
Well, didn't it get down even at the... Maybe we did have a little winter at the fair because, like, Wednesday night, didn't it get down to, like, 48 degrees or something?
No. Wednesday night? No.
Are you sure?
No.
It got really chilly. Maybe it was earlier in the week. It was really chilly earlier in the week, like below 50 for, like, overnight. And then it heated right back up real quick.
The low Thursday night with the humidity...
Oh, yeah, it was like 80.
...was the normal high for this time of year.
Yeah.
The low was 75 at some point in the evening. I want to say 8, 9 o'clock. The normal high for this time of year is 76 degrees. This weekend, this is how it normally is in September.
Yes.
And it was, 93 on Friday?
Yes.
Amazing.
It's been a little thick. It was thick at the Pearl Jam concert. It was thick at the fair. It's been thick all weekend.
It's funny when you look back at life, Pearl Jam celebrating their 20 years in music this weekend at Alpine Valley. Mm-hmm. I remember in junior high when Pearl Jam was the cool up-and-coming band. It was them and Nirvana, the new breed of music, and everybody who was in the time. I remember talking about this in keyboarding class. Yes, there was such a thing as keyboarding, learning to type on the keyboard, where we put the piece of paper over our hands, and we had to type without looking at the keys. And on a computer.
I won't tell you that when I was in school that was
typewriter?
called typing, yes. God, keyboarding, what the heck?
But I remember talking with a guy named Ethan Westcott, who still lives in the area, about this new cool group called Pearl Jam. Now here they are, 20 years later. It's not a reunion show. It's more of a celebration of their music. And you went last night?
Yes.
You've been to other Alpine shows. Mm-hmm. Have you ever been to Buffett?
No.
Dave Matthews?
I don't like those crowds.
Dave Matthews?
No. My brother he's up here from Indianapolis, and he follows Dave Matthews. He goes wherever Dave goes.
You saw Aerosmith and Kid Rock at
Yes,
Alpine.
Aerosmith, Run DMC, and Kid Rock.
So how does a Pearl Jam show / crowd compare to an Aerosmith show?
There's a lot, there's a lot of different... What you have to remember about Pearl Jam, this particular concert is that there are 10 other bands or whatever it is. So it's, honestly, the crowd-wise, it's the same because there's all different ages. And there were all different ages at that Aerosmith, Run DMC, Kid Rock concert. As a matter of fact, I took my 16-year-old daughter and a girlfriend of hers to that concert.
Don't call me daughter.
Yeah, they're not allowed to call me mom at the bar.
That's my Eddie impersonation.
Or Nana. No, you can't call me mom or Nana at the bar. But
did you find a better man at the bar?
So
I can be here all night.
Thanks.
At the end of the night, did you have a last kiss with your husband? Apparently that sounds like Jimmy Fallon impersonating Eddie Vedder. Move on, Nancy. Sorry.
I don't even know what you're doing.
These are all Pearl Jam songs.
I know.
Better Man, Last Kiss,
Daughter.
Yes,
I know, but I don't recognize them when you sing them.
That's because I'm not Eddie Vedder.
Don't quit your day job.
But you had a good time.
It was fun. It was great. Well, and my brother's here, and he's going back again today, and I'm not. We're going to be out at the Doobie Brothers concerts.
Tonight?
One concert.
We'll talk more about the Walworth County Fair later on in the program. Judy Hehr will join us in about 15, 20 minutes or so, talking Labor Day, the meaning of Labor Day, not just a 3-day weekend, why it's here, why we acknowledge it. And then we're going to have an author in studio in just a couple of minutes.
That's right. Cindy Ludo, she wrote a book about her grandparents' house, and Grandparents' Day is coming up next weekend, and I believe it's September 11th as well.
A lot going on that day.
I know. So she's here to tell you about the book and where you can get it just in time for Grandparents' Day to make a nice little gift. So stay tuned. We'll be back in just a couple minutes. You're listening to Life Matters right here on Lake 96.1 with Dave and Nancy.
Good morning.
Good morning.
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 Life, love, home, travel, health. Life Matters is on your radio.
I listen in the morning. It's my alarm. The alarm goes off, and there they are.
It's Life Matters with Dave and Nancy is on your radio. Lake 96.1, named Best Morning Show by the Wisconsin Broadcasters Association.
Thanks for spending your Labor Day weekend with us here on Lake 96.1. My name is Dave Michaels. Her name is Nancy Douglas. And from time to time, Nancy comes to me with show ideas, guests to interview. There are times I roll my eyes going, where did you find this person? Or better yet, how
like
and
Judy.
why did this person
I'm
find you? There are some instances where I go, really? That sounds interesting. This is one of those instances.
Oh, good. We were worried.
Not that you need my stamp of approval, but it's always nice.
That's right. It really doesn't matter what he thinks. I just schedule them anyway. But we're spending some time this morning with Cindy Ludo. Good morning, Cindy.
Good morning.
And she is an author, and she's written just a kind of an interesting book, and it just struck me, I don't know, ever since we moved here to the Geneva Lake area, I have gotten more interested in history, and just because of all the homes and the stories around the lake and things like that. And it really interests me now to see, in Elkhorn and Delavan, all these books that are published that have the old postcards and things like that in it, and that talk about the history of some of the places around the lake. Cindy has written a book that has a different take on history. She has written a book, and it's called The Other White House. And it is a book that compares her grandparents. She reminisces about her grandparents' White House that they lived in and kind of compares it to the White House in Washington, D.C. So it's just interesting to me. Cindy, where'd you come up with this? First of all, thanks for being here on a Sunday morning.
No problem.
On your holiday weekend. Sorry
no
to
problem.
call you in here and get you out of bed. But how'd you come up with this idea?
Well, I also teach school, and I've been in the classroom 30 years. And over the time in those 30 years, I've told many stories about my grandparents' farmhouse.
You teach fourth graders, right?
I do.
Yes.
And I've just had so much fun with them. And then my parents passed away when I was young, and so they pretty much raised us.
Your grandparents?
Yep. Mm-hmm. They raised us and made sure we had, a good college education and took care of my sister and I. So it was kind of a tribute to them. And I just thought, what am I going to call this book? Because I've had this idea for a long time, and I thought, it's The Other White House. So I just, it's just kind of a tribute to my grandparents about their White House built in 1863, and I compare it to the presidential White House in Washington, D.C., and I just wanted to share some of the stories and comparisons about the two White Houses.
Everybody has stories like that too. I mean, my grandparents lived in Fort Wayne. They lived outside of Fort Wayne, Indiana, in Decatur, Indiana. And it's kind of Amish country out there, and I have stories like that, and I also had a grandma that was really kind of a little outrageous and was very famous around town for being loud and maybe a little obnoxious and things like that. So, but when you go, I spent a lot of time at my grandparents when I was little. You clearly spent far more time, but the stories that you have, and when you went back to the White House as an adult, did it seem so much smaller?
Yeah,
we were just there. Your grandparents' White House.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, we, I've just gone there so many times, but, it's so different. I didn't remember the floor sloping. That's why we couldn't play marbles very well, because the floor slopes so much. But before they, tore it down, I was able to get some things out of there. And
where was it located? Where was it?
It was, I should say, in southeastern Illinois, down by, it's only about 30 minutes from Terre Haute, Indiana.
Oh, okay.
Right by the Wabash River.
Mm-hmm.
And did you grow up in this house when your parents died? Is this where you lived? Or
No,
is this...
no, they died when I was, in high school, but we just spent every summer there, and my mom would meet my grandparents in Porterville, halfway between the city, where we lived.
And these were your mom's parents?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then we'd meet under the maple tree there.
It's amazing how you remember these little details.
Yeah, and then we'd go up to the farm and we'd spend a week. And my grandpa was a pig farmer, so we'd get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and help him walk his pigs. And he'd always pay us $1, and he'd give my cousin Becky $1 for staying out of the way. She was the littlest cousin. She usually rode in the truck with Grandma. But so we just, we had a blast. But we'd have to do it really early in the morning because pigs, they don't sweat, and Grandpa would lose his pigs if they got too hot. So, yeah. Mm-hmm.
See, there's a fact you didn't know. Did you, Dave?
No, I didn't.
Yeah. So that's what we do. And we'd stop by my great-grandma's house and pump water and throw buckets of water on them and then take them to market. And
wow.
Yeah, it was fun. I loved my childhood days at the farm.
And so fun. Basically you took all the stories that you've been relaying to your students all these years and put them in a book. How hard is it to get a book published?
Well, I had, I went on the internet and searched places, and then I found Author House, and it was kind of a self-publishing.
Okay.
And they work with you. They were awesome about doing that. And they're located actually down in Bloomington, Indiana, which is maybe an hour from where my grandparents' White House was. So the person that I worked with knew exactly, where I was talking about. So, you just submit your work and you work with them. And so that was kind of the easy part. You do have to, pay a little extra.
Sure.
But, it was great. And the illustrator, I sent pictures. So the pictures that you see in the book are exactly how my grandparents' house looked. She did an awesome job.
It's very cool. And you take and you compare things, like the staircase to the staircase at the White House and things like that. But, the reason why why we're talking about this today is because Sunday, the 11th, a week from today, is Grandparents' Day. And this would just be kind of a cool book for a grandchild to give to their grandparent to sit down and read, for the grandparent to sit down and read with them. And so it was kind of a gift. And we can pick them up at the Cornerstone shop, correct? You have them there?
Mm-hmm. She'll have some there. And you can also order them through authorhouse.com.
Online.
Mm-hmm, online.
And it's called The Other White House.
The Other White House.
It's a very cute book. It's a very cute idea. And it's nice that, I don't know, you kind of put all those stories into a book, and it's exciting that you got it published. Are you excited about it? Is it cool to see your stories in print?
Yeah, it is. It's really fun. And, it's a tribute to my grandparents because they were such wonderful people. And, all grandparents are wonderful.
Absolutely.
Did you call it the White House when you were a kid, or did you just say, we're going to visit Grandma and Grandpa's?
We called it the farm. Mm-hmm. But it was a white house with a green roof, and across the road before it got knocked down was Grandpa's barn. And it was also white with a green roof. And then one year it got struck by lightning, and they didn't have any more green tiles, so they replaced it with pink tiles. So the one side, if you came down north, you'd see pink tiles, and if you came south, that side of the barn had green tiles. They didn't replace the whole thing. So it was great. We loved it. And my sister and I would clean out the horse trough, and that was our swimming pool in the summer.
Oh,
so we just had a blast.
Isn't it cool? Yeah.
I was just at a family wedding a couple of weeks ago, and I was talking with some cousins who were in from out of town, and everyone has those memories of grandmas and grandpas.
Yeah.
And at their house. And while some people just drive by a random house and don't think anything of it, that was my childhood. My grandmother and grandfather grew up lived on the south side of Chicago, and every holiday,
I know.
That's where we went. And I made it a point to get back there. My grandmother, she's still alive. She's 92 years old. And you hang on to that because that is so much a part of your childhood. And so obviously others have not been to this particular White House that you mentioned, but just looking at your book, Cindy, it brings back those memories, and they're fond ones of me. And so with Grandparents' Day, as Nancy mentioned, coming up a week from today, it's a nice little add-on to give to Grandma and Grandpa as a nice little gift.
Yes, it's a very nice tribute to your grandparents. It's very well done, and we appreciate you coming in this morning.
No problem.
And if you want to pick up the book, you can go to the Cornerstone shop right here downtown Lake Geneva at Main, and they're at Main and Broad Street, aren't they? Yeah, not Main and Center, Main and Broad. Everybody knows where the Cornerstone shop is. And or you can log on to authorhouse.com and pick it up. It's called The Other White House, and now your first name is actually Seneca.
It is.
Yes. So if you're looking for the author's title, it's Seneca Van Tassel Luto is Cindy's real entire
birth certificate.
full
Yeah,
name.
the birth certificate.
It's Cindy Ludo, author of The Other White House. Thanks so much for coming in this morning. We will also have the information on where you can find the book on our website on the Life Matters page. Thanks so much for coming
Thanks
in.
for having me.
Enjoy the rest of your Labor Day weekend.
Thank you.
Yes, thanks for kind of interrupting it for us.
No problem. Thanks.
All right, great book to pick up for Grandparents' Day. A little gift for Grandma and Grandpa to read to the grandkids. I'm Nancy. Dave's over here pushing buttons and waiting for me to end the segment. I know, just giving you the look. You're listening to Life Matters right here on Lake 96.1. We'll be right back.
Life Matters continues with Dave and Nancy on Lake 96.1.
There's one of two types of people in this world. One that would rather attend the royal wedding or one that would rather attend the Kardashian wedding. I'm guessing if you attend the royal wedding, and I'm not talking about status and finances. If the royal wedding is more your type of wedding, you go for the family and for the camaraderie and for the marriage. If the Kardashian wedding was more your cup of tea, you're going for the party and to hook up.
Okay.
So what kind of person are you, Nancy? Would you rather attend the Kardashian wedding or the royal wedding?
Oh, no, I would rather attend the royal wedding.
Well, good. You're not looking to hook up with people and get free booze.
Well, I didn't say that. I would just rather go to the royal wedding.
And again, not because of the royals, but just because of what that wedding represents.
Yeah.
You'd rather be an attendee of the royal wedding. And
Right.
I don't mean because you get on a plane and go to England and all that stuff, but just, what that wedding represented versus what the Kardashian wedding represented.
It seems more, what's the word I don't want to say credible, but...
Long-lasting?
Yeah, I mean...
That's another question. Who's still going to be married 5 years from now? Kate and William or Kim and... What's the guy's name?
Who knows? See, we don't even know his name, so...
No, he's a basketball player for the New Jersey Nets. Humphreys is his last name.
I don't know.
God, what's his name?
I don't care about the Kardashians, quite frankly. That's...
I will say this much, though. The mom, what's her name?
Again.
The Jenner. Whatever her name.
She's married to Bruce Jenner, who's like Botoxed up so bad.
Yeah, him and Kenny
that he
Rogers
can't
can
move
have
his
their own
face.
reality show.
Yeah.
Hosted by Joan Rivers.
And Lisa Rinna.
But the mom, Chris is her name. Maybe it's short for Christine. I give her credit. She took 3 girls who did nothing in life and made them multi-millionaires.
Well,
you have to give her, it's a sadistic kind of credit, but you have to give her credit for striking while the iron was hot.
so just out of curiosity, because I haven't slept in 3 days, and I'm going to try to go most of the show without talking about my big news, but where are you going with this?
I'm just curious.
Because
where am I going with this?
I don't want to
Nancy,
talk about Kim Kardashian.
I
want to talk
either.
to Judy.
And we will. Nancy, here. Okay, fine. You went there. I'll go there. Nancy stares at me and says, okay, Dave, time to go. You talk. So I need to come up with some kind of topic to get the ball rolling. And then she's upset when I choose a topic. I could just come back and go, welcome back to the program on Lake 96.1. I'm Dave. She's Nancy. Judy Hehr joins us. Judy, good morning. How are you?
I am wonderful.
Thank God. Just start talking so he'll stop.
Well, and I'm a total control freak, so I want to know, what are we talking about? How long are we talking? When do I start? When do I finish? Invite me into the dialogue.
Thank you.
Yeah. So
I
the
know.
spur of the moment stuff, I really appreciate it because I don't do it well.
I don't either.
I need to ask, what wedding would you rather attend, Judy? The Kardashian wedding, if you could, or the royal wedding?
Honestly, I'd like to do both because I would like to see both perspectives on what their marriage vows would be. I'm a big people person. I would like to observe the dynamics of the different people there. So more is better. I'd rather go to both.
I mean, when you ask me that, when I think of the royal wedding, the history and and all of that, that is why I would like to go to the royal wedding. Now, I would love to go to the Kardashian wedding and meet all of the superstars that are there and do all that.
See, you're not there for the wedding,
That's fine.
though.
So I'm not, but I wouldn't
Exactly.
be there for the wedding because I don't know how serious they are taking it. When the royals got married, that is a serious thing. I mean, so I don't know.
You said you're a people person, Judy. Do you
No, she's not at all.
going to airports?
Yes.
See, I think I figured it out, Nancy, because I've mentioned in the past how I enjoy layovers when I travel, and I didn't know why. It adds to your travel time, your increased option of getting your luggage lost. I think I just enjoy watching the people and wondering where they're coming from and why they're there and where they're
making
going.
up stories about them.
Kind of.
Because that's exactly what you're doing. You really don't know. And let's be
Right.
honest, the 2 weddings that we would be attending, whether it be the royal one or the Kardashians, we really don't know why they are there, what they are doing, what is their ultimate motive, and do they have any idea what exactly they're getting into.
Right.
Because I know I didn't.
I was at the airport on Wednesday, and this is so bizarre. I realized this. You can make fun of me if you like.
We
I
will.
got to the airport early. Not just in the turnaround at Mitchell in Milwaukee.
No,
And
he parks the car and goes in the terminal and waits.
I went in the terminal. I watched the radar where the planes were. I was just enjoying people watching. I just sat. I talked to the TSA agents.
See, I like that.
know.
They need to be talked to.
Well, they looked at me like I was on drugs approaching them, and I asked them about, okay, if I have a flight at 5:40 in the morning, which I do in October, what time do I legitimately need to the airport? Right. And then they gave me the standard, well, you need to be there 2 hours in advance. I go, okay, great. The airport doesn't even open at 3:40 in the morning.
Yeah,
this is Milwaukee, not O'Hare.
And considering we're just a week away from September 11th, they're probably not at all wondering that you weren't trying to divert them for some terrorist attack happening behind you.
They're profiling him like crazy.
Exactly.
My cargo shorts.
I need to be there.
Right.
Yeah.
Me and my cargo shorts.
Still taking our shoes off on
Because you definitely look like a
Yes,
terrorist.
I fit the profile. 32-year-old Caucasian male. Yep, we're bombing everywhere in
The
Wisconsin.
whitest guy ever.
I
Yeah.
got some sun. I've been
Yeah,
at the
you
Walworth
do.
County Fair,
Yeah, my
so-
brother-in-law, it's him. He's the albino, and he gets stopped at he is like white blonde, clear blue eyes, never can get a tan, burns every time he even thinks about the sun, and boy, do they check him every single time he goes through that. We stand there and laugh at him.
For those who don't know who Judy is, Judy, why don't you introduce yourself?
I am Judy Hehr. How's that?
That's fabulous.
And your expertise?
My expertise, I guess, would be sharing my experience, strength, and hope with other people and trying to point them in a direction outside themselves to a power greater than themselves so they can be all that they were created to be. How's
And
that?
Fabulous.
You're going to get more of that in the coming weeks, isn't
That's
it?
what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Yes, I finally pinned her down and made her, we had to get vacations and school starting and all those kind of things out of the way. So right before this program, starting on October 2nd, you will hear a half hour of Judy and Judy only. We won't be interfering anymore with her show.
Well, she'll be interfering with our show because if she decides to go
interfering
along,
with our show now.
we're going to...
I'm definitely not going to go long. I might even go shorter.
No, she won't go shorter.
That means we have to be
Definitely.
here earlier. So please don't go
don't do
shorter.
that.
Right, yeah.
So you're
We're
gonna
lucky
have-
to be here now.
So you're going to have your own program on at 7:30 on Sunday mornings.
It's going to be called Journey with Judy.
And that will debut, you said, October 2nd?
October 2nd, Sunday morning, October 2nd, 7:30 in the morning on your way to church.
It's bizarre because...
Yes, Dave, it's a few days before you get married.
No, I wasn't going to say that. October 2nd seems like it's so far off, but in reality now the calendar has turned. That's basically a month
less than
from
a month
today.
away.
That's
Yeah.
correct.
Where did summer go?
I know.
Yeah.
I know. Here we are at Labor Day.
Yeah.
The end of summer, school's open, pools close, moving on.
Yeah. Lake
Right?
Geneva starts being able to you're able to drive through it now.
Yeah.
Find a parking spot within a half hour of your reservation.
Right. Not have to walk from, like Delavan.
So, Judy, what's on your mind? Experiences
9/11. We talked a little bit about 9/11 coming up. The 10th anniversary of September 11th
1 week from today.
is 1 week from today. It has, I will tell you this, it has a weird meaning to me because that's also my birthday. And I almost feel bad celebrating my birthday on that day.
Sure.
But it's about how you think about it anyway, because I have over the years have just chosen to say, but it's a celebration of this country's spirit and how they came together, and so
What is the appropriate way, in your mind, Judy, to mark 9/11? And again, it's different for everybody, but some people believe it should be a day of memorial. Some people say the complete opposite. It should be a day of the reason 9/11
Celebrating.
happened was, terrorism, and terrorism is striking fear into the public, and a way of showing your resolve against terrorism is to, yes, still be remembering what happened, in this case 10 years ago, 1 week from today, but to go about your lives as if it was normal. Not that it didn't happen, but just to, hey, we're going to get past this. It's been 10 years. We've moved on. You did not win. Who's right,
And
who's
look at the
wrong, or is
strength.
there a right and wrong?
You know what? For me personally, it was an impact on my life that was most profound. I walked away from a 10-year career in which I was very successful the day after September 11th as a direct result of those events.
Wow.
Really?
And I was not directly impacted. I didn't know anybody in those towers. I really didn't even know anybody who knew anybody. However, it caused me to reflect in a most profound way on if I was there.
Right.
And
in the buildings or just in New York City?
In the building.
Okay.
Would my children remember me?
Mm-hmm.
And I, at that point, was so engrossed in my career and thrived so much on the affirmations received by that career that I don't know that my kids would even remember me.
Yeah.
And so I remember vividly sitting down with my man the next day and saying, do we have enough money so I don't ever have to work?
Yeah.
Or at least not now. And I needed to, and I just had my final, what I believe, my fourth child and last child. So she was a month old. And
Oh
so
my
I walked
gosh.
away from that career. So it's a big deal for me. 10 years ago is when I walked away. And the standing joke with my children now is you never had a job. Because I said, it's Labor Day. What does that mean? And my daughter's like, well, Mom, you don't have a job. Because they don't remember those
Right.
days when I worked.
Right.
And, on the time.
That's good, though, because you were so fearful that they wouldn't remember you not being there.
Yes.
You have clearly changed that perspective because a couple of them were old enough to remember that you were working.
I think
right?
so.
Yeah.
I think so.
But yet you've completely changed that perspective and they've blocked it out or whatever.
Correct.
And because they enjoy this way of life so much more.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so when it's bring your parent to school day to talk about their job, my daughter's like, well, who am I going to bring? And I was like, well, I would love to go. And she said, but you don't have a job. You just drive around and talk about Jesus. I'm like, and that is a job. It's a very important job.
The check clears, you have shoes on your feet.
Exactly. So I did go to her
Just
school
drive
and
around.
talked about Jesus. I did. I said, my job is to talk about Jesus. Yeah.
Oh, that's fabulous.
Yeah.
See, now you can go to school and say, my job is to go to the radio station.
I
Figure
know
out what
that-
I'm going to say every
and
week.
that's why I was so excited that this commitment has finally been made and the date has finally been set and it is Labor Day. And that's what we're celebrating right now is
Yes.
the work of the average man in 1882 was the first Labor Day celebrated. I don't know if you know that.
Wow, someone did her homework.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I was so excited to say, okay, what is labor? Like
That
what
makes
are-
sense. 1882, that's when the long hours and the kids were in the factories and the Industrial Revolution.
Correct.
That's what I was going
Right.
for. The
Correct.
Industrial
Right.
Revolution was in full swing in the U.S., and the average man, and to an extent woman, was working, 65, 70, 75 hours a week, easy.
Dawn till dark. Sure.
And that wasn't even the farmers who were working,
Right.
sun up to sundown, but these people were in the factories, and, hey, we need a day off.
That's exactly right. And so the Central Labor Union at that point said, okay, we are going to honor this day. And they made a point, I think, when they did that.
Right.
To say we are going to respect the dignity of the worker and demand that they have a reasonable period of time to rest. And I love that.
But it's only one day a year.
But
Those of us-
shortly thereafter,
Those of us who work
I
60
know.
hours a week, we need more than one day.
I know. And in the 1800s, it was 70 hours. Let me just
Was it
comment.
70?
Wow.
The average work week was 70
Was
hours.
it 6 days a week then, too? Because Sunday was the Sabbath. Very few places were even open on Sunday, let alone working on Sunday. So that 70 hours a work week is over 6 days.
Yeah.
Easily 12-hour days.
Wow.
7 a.m. to 7 p.m.
Yeah. And so now I think the statistics will show you that the hours may have lessened, but considerably more what's lessened is the rest time because you're still doing other
Right.
things that aren't resting.
Right.
It may
That
not be
aren't
work-related.
that
It's
is
just
correct.
your mind. What about the mental rest? I
necessity. It's such a
because
necessity.
of, kids are back in school. Summer is winded down. Parents are thinking, finally, a little bit of a break. No. Now that the kids are back in school.
I think you switch it into a higher
It's
gear.
a-
is the
it's
next-
a
you got to
whole
get these
different
things
level.
done. that you
Well,
haven't
yeah,
done all
because
summer.
now in the summertime, you don't really have to be anywhere at a specific time. I mean, you do, but it's much more under your control. Now it's under somebody else's control. They have to be at school. They're coming home.
Can plan.
Fall practice, this, that, and so yeah, it's you're just busy because you
It's
get the
life.
rest during the day, but you're not really resting. You're cramming all the stuff in. So I don't know. Labor.
Should we talk about labor?
Let's.
Let's talk about labor in just a couple of seconds. Wasn't me, wasn't you, and it wasn't you, but it was somebody else.
We're going to talk about labor.
Well, let's talk about labor. Why not? It's on the topic. It's on our minds. What's on somebody's mind because someone we know went into labor.
Oh. I was going to try not to talk about it the whole entire show.
We'll give you just 1 minute.
Okay.
Start going now.
No, he's going to commercial break. He's going to make me
break,
wait.
And then Nancy has news to share. Can I let the cat out of the bag?
Yes,
Is that okay?
you can let the cat out of the bag.
We'll be back in 2 minutes on Life Matters on Lake 96.1.
Welcome back to Life Matters with Dave and Nancy. And the world famous Judy Hehr joins us this morning.
Are you
famous?
Legend in my own mind,
yes.
as they say. Yeah.
And ours too.
Oh, thank you.
And ours too. So we got off on this subject about labor, and Dave knows that there's a few words right now that are triggering my giggling. I haven't slept in like 3 days because...
You gave birth.
No.
Well, why else would you have slept
Not
in 3
even
days?
close.
I didn't know you were pregnant. You hit it well.
I know. I was, no. My daughter on very, very early on Thursday morning, September 1st, gave birth to my brand new grandson, Logan. And so the spoiling has begun.
How do you spoil a 3-day-old?
Oh, shit, please.
Well, you're both
I'm a
mothers. How do you
master.
spoil a 3-day-old?
I think you start the planning process of all the things you're going to do.
Right.
Don't you?
Right.
So it's mental
all the things you're going to
spoiling.
buy. I mean, I've already bought stuff. He's got a room at our house he's had a room at our house for 6 months, for God's sakes. I mean, Julie has a room too, my granddaughter. So Julie and I are playing with him like he's a baby doll. That's probably terrible of me to teach
So
her.
has his head popped off yet?
No.
Spun around a few times, but hasn't popped off.
But I tell you what, this girl called me at 11:45 and had that baby at 1:44.
Your daughter.
My
Good
daughter.
for her.
And
That's
there was
hereditary.
no labor.
Yeah.
I mean, I was like, really? People don't tell the story. People will hate you. There's those who spend 30 hours in
That's
labor
right.
and all that. Yeah. So
And they still talk about it.
and
the
they,
kid's
and
50.
then remind the kids.
Yeah.
How
difficult you were from
right.
birth.
Right.
Yeah.
Like this baby literally jumped out of her.
Yeah.
I mean, just, she said, I want to push. And they said, hang on a second. And he just
It's done.
climbed out.
Perfect.
Yeah. So.
Isn't it traditionally that the second child does come easier than the first, or is that just
Not
an urban legend?
necessarily.
You know what?
Yes
for me,
and
my
no.
fourth was the hardest. I had to have a C-section. So
Yeah.
I think every pregnancy is different.
Sure.
That's what I was
But
told
by and
over and over.
large-
But by and large, I would think the second time.
I had my second
Would
one
be
in my
easy.
sleep. I got there, got epidural at like midnight, and they said, well, just rest for a little while. It's going to be a little while. And so I fell asleep for like 2 hours, and I woke up and said, hey, somebody should check me out here. I can't feel anything. And the nurse checked me and said, hang on just a second. Don't move. As if I could move. My legs are numb. Right. And went and got the doctor and my mom, and I pushed twice, and she was out. I had her in my sleep.
And that's why your daughter was that way. They say it's very hereditary. The way your mom did it is
Yeah.
pretty much the way you're going to do it.
Yeah, she.
So me and my adopted self, I have no clue how things are going to work out.
Well, I didn't know.
Wait,
either.
that would mean
was
that I'd be
adopted.
one giving birth. So
Right,
that
yeah.
means
I
nothing.
think we know how that's going to work out.
Yeah.
But yeah, so different kind of labor, but
Well, congratulations,
I'm a little,
Grandma.
thank you. I'm still a little, jazzed and buzzed and
Well,
everything. Then we
no.
had the Pearl Jam concert
Yeah,
last
that's why
night.
I was going to say, Judy, she's
Oh,
buzzed
right.
for a different reason. She was at Alpine Valley last night.
My
buzzed
brother's
and
in
now
town.
I'm really buzzed.
Right, my brother's in town, and we had the Pearl Jam last
Nice.
night, and got Doobie Brothers tonight. Dave and I and Ted Allen are going to introduce the Doobie Brothers on
Fun.
stage at the grandstand at the Walworth County Fair, so we're all buzzed about that. So
Awesome.
maybe tomorrow on Labor Day I will actually rest.
Good.
I doubt it, but
It's your day to do however you choose.
oh, well, thank you, Dave. So it was a week from today. A week from today is my birthday. I'll be all jazzed and buzzed
She's
then,
mentioned
too.
this 1,000
I know.
times.
It's my
She's
birthday
44,
month.
44.
No, I'm 29. No, I'm 44.
No, see, you don't listen to John Tesh. That's bad to do. You should acknowledge your age and embrace your age.
Yeah.
You're not
With all your
29,
wisdom
Nancy.
and experience,
Yes.
girlfriend.
There's
I'm
nothing wrong with being
44
44.
years of wisdom.
You're still
Yeah.
you're
I'm
43
45.
still. So
I will be, yes, I'm 43 and 11 3/4 twelfths.
I was told there wouldn't be math on this morning's show.
Yes, my birthday is on 9/11. Everybody goes, oh, when I say that. I was here
I've never said
first,
that.
ladies and gentlemen. But it's like I said earlier. You turn that around and you celebrate the spirit, and you celebrate. It's just like Labor Day,
Right.
We're celebrating the spirit of the workers, and the laborers in this country. And it's not just a day off. And I think that we don't, just like Memorial Day and Veterans Day and some of these other holidays, I don't think that we explain it to our kids. I don't think they look at it as a day off of school.
Right, absolutely.
And I don't think that they understand the meaning. Now, when we bring veterans in to tell stories and things like that into the schools on Veterans Day,
there's a connection.
At least, yes, you're trying to bring a tear to their eye. Yes, so they get it. Because if you don't pull some kind of emotion from them, they don't remember. And, they don't understand Labor Day, I don't think. Except that it's around the time they start school and it creates a 3-day weekend. But I don't know. What do you tell your kids? How do you explain the celebration of the hardworking people of America?
Well, as I said before, I walked away from my career 10 years ago. So in my children's mind, I don't work. And as you guys know, the few times we've spent together, I'm like a word nerd. And so if I want to know what something is, I look up the definition of it. And my parents taught me that as a kid. When I would ask them, what does this mean? They would say, go look it up.
Right.
And I still do that. And so when I looked up labor, I looked up work today, it was a sustained physical or mental effort. And can I just tell you guys, we've been working at my house for 10 years.
The sustained mental effort of 4 children alone.
That's exactly right. Like just trying to exist in the chaos of our home like that, So labor, let's define labor as exactly that.
Right.
And so what you're doing is just as important that the fact that you are doing it. So we're all working towards something. And in the spirit of labor, I will tell you that we're all going to give birth to something. I mean, as women, we give birth physically if we're blessed in that way. But the reality is we were given the ability, God-given ability, to labor, to give birth into this world to something. Whether it's for good or for ill, something will be produced as a result of our existence. We hope.
And
we can
labor.
only hope that it's positive
right.
as a result of our labor. But I didn't know until doing the research myself that first Labor Day was celebrated by this union to make a point. And the theme right now in my house is, are you making a point or are you making a difference? Because they're two totally different things.
Right.
And we're all about making a point. Like we can make points all day long, but what gets accomplished? What is the result of the point? And so many arguments never get resolved because I'm so busy making the point of what we shouldn't or shouldn't have done. And so I dig that President Grover Cleveland at the time, that these strikers, that is right. 1894 is when it was made the first actual holiday
national,
in the U.S. By President Grover Cleveland, and it was because the strikers at the time, somebody was killed on an Illinois highway. And so as a result of that accident is when the president said, okay, we got to just not make a point. We got to make a difference. And we have to acknowledge publicly that this is a day of rest.
Right.
And so we were talking about that, making a point, making a difference, and what exactly that means. So
that's interesting. See, we always learn from Judy.
Grover Cleveland, also the only president to be elected twice in non-consecutive terms.
See, maybe that had something to do with it. We're digging 8 hours of rest and 8 hours of work.
Yeah, he served 4 years in office, took a break because he wasn't reelected, ran again. They put him back in office. Yeah. Served out 8 years. It's not consecutive.
And I'll tell you that in my house, again, my kids will say, you make everything about God. And whether that's right or wrong, that's what I do, because I believe somehow when you peel it all away, that's really where it all originates.
Right.
And so my kids will say, I've made this about God, to say God has modeled 6 days of work.
Right.
Hard, really, really hard work. And 1 day of rest.
Right.
We work really hard, and there's over 300 references in Scripture, verses to labor or work.
Right.
And the result of that, you will never labor in vain, is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking with Judy Hehr here on Late 96.1. As a mom, Judy, do you find that sometimes you have to, the word I guess would be back off a little bit from your kids because you feel that they'll just literally just go the opposite direction because they're kids and they want to do what mom doesn't want them to do and vice versa? So sometimes while you're right, you don't go as hard as you may otherwise in parenting for fear that they'll completely zone you out and you won't get through to them at all.
Okay.
And I say this as a person who's not a parent, so...
Well, and I'm laughing right now because if you ask my man, he will tell you I have 2 speeds, off and wide open. And so either I'm totally ignoring my children because they have not respected, responded, or cooperated in some way. I got a text from my son yesterday. Are you going to be this immature and not talk to me? And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm not talking to you. So,
and how old is this son?
He's 16.
Okay, this is the 16-year-old.
So we're fighting on a text, But to answer your question, like, I don't know how to do it, Dave. The way you do anything is the way you do everything. And I have this like whole thing about being a passionate, purposeful, prayerful parent. And like, if you're not going to listen to me, it's not going to be because I didn't try.
Right.
And so I keep saying that to my kids. Like, I just want them to avoid some of the things that I didn't. And I know I didn't avoid them because I didn't know. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know whose I was. And so I keep trying to say to my kids, like, you're better than that.
Right.
That's not who you are. And when they are so mean and like they could suck the life out of anything, trust me, for real. When they are such life suckers, and I believe that they mirror me because it's the gift that I have.
You have, yeah. You always have them just like you, yeah.
And so I get that. They mirror my behavior, and when they do something good, gosh, we really try to say like, that's it, that's who you are. It's not that poison spewing, mean, beating down your sister guy.
Right.
You're the guy who stuck up for, fought for, believed it, and like, but it's like, so this is way harder than my job.
Yeah, really.
10 years ago.
Yeah, labor's not just between the hours of 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. You don't get a paycheck every 2 weeks from your labor. Labor is, well, what was the definition again?
A sustained physical or mental effort to overcome obstacles or to achieve a desired result.
Labor. It's what you make of it. Like labor, and I'm not trying to say one way is better than the other, but labor is whatever's on your mind, the mental aspect. Labor is whatever you're trying to accomplish that week. It's cutting the grass. Yes, that's, quote, manual labor, but it can be both at the same time.
And parenting is supposed to be labor of love.
Exactly.
Sometimes it's a labor of you're lucky to be alive, but, and you're right. I can't imagine having 5. I have 2 kids. I can't imagine having 4. Oh, my God.
It's working.
4 like me. I mean, let's be honest.
I have 4 of them.
I mean, I remember when we were in counseling, 10 years ago. And so we were my husband and I, we were trying to say to this counselor, like, why are these kids so difficult? Like, why can't they just like sit and read a book or something? And she would
because
say,
they're not rocks.
When was the last time you read a book?
But I knew parents whose kids would like just sit and be. And she said, like, with Bob's irritability and your intensity, like, good luck with that. Like, it's not happening. And so now I know that there's so much like us. I say they look like him and they act like me, and that's not all bad.
Sure,
but it's like a difficult battle. Like, I wouldn't want to be me. I wouldn't want to be married to me. I wouldn't want to be my parent, like my kid. It's really hard work.
My parents. Sometimes my mom would call me and just say, I don't even know what they're doing today, but click, because I had 2 just like me. And, now though I see as adults, and, them going through different things and sometimes I have to step back and shut my mouth. And that is a huge amount of labor, stepping back and just shutting your mouth and saying, okay, I'm not going to even say anything about it because many, many times if I say, really, this is what you need to do, just do this, they'll go and do the opposite like twice. So it's a huge labor sometimes just to keep your mouth shut and watch. But do you see your kids reacting in the exact same, something happens and they react in the exact same way as you did, 20 years ago or whatever it was, when you were their age? I mean, I see that all the time. I mean, I see looks on their faces that I know I've had.
Right.
I mean, right down to it. And it is work. I mean, it's all work. Your whole day, 24/7. The only time people aren't working these days is when they're sleeping. And
even then your mind is on whatever you need to accomplish the next day.
So I don't know. I Labor Day, I think that people need to understand, like you said, more people need to understand the respect, why we are celebrating Labor Day. And it's not, it's not just the people that are working, 90 hours a week or working 2 jobs or, all of that. It's like you said, there's a mental aspect to it. And
that's right.
So while tomorrow maybe you're packing up your things and getting back in the car and going back to Chicago or going back to whatever you may be doing, moving forward, there'll be Tuesday. It's going to happen whether we like it or not. So how do we, either for the rest of the year or for the rest of the decade, how do we give ourselves those mental breaks, those physical breaks that life just doesn't afford us? And that's a open-ended question that I obviously don't have the answer for, and I don't think a lot of people do, but everyone's situation is different. How do you get that moment of that me time? And the me time isn't just necessarily sitting down reading a book, but just doing whatever you want to do at that moment where you don't have responsibilities to children, spouse, work. How do you accomplish that?
Well, if you're asking me, I'd love to tell you that the scripture that comes to mind is to be still and to know that I am God. Is one of the scripture verses. And I think just like anything else that makes a difference in our life, it needs to be intentional and deliberate. And it's difficult. It is difficult to, like you said, Dave, to do this me time thing. But the scripture verse that Jesus said, come away, all of you who are burdened, and I will give you rest. And so what is that rest? Maybe for you, it's gardening. Maybe for you, it's whatever, reading, praying,
playing chess,
anything that allows you to be still and know who you are, whose you are, and that it's all going to be okay. And the thing that comes to mind to me, too, is when you were talking about the airport earlier in the show, where they're telling you that you got to put on your oxygen mask first. And I always say, because I hate to fly, like, I will not put on yours or mine. I'm sucking us all out of this bad boy if something happens. But the reality is, like, you can't give what you don't have. And so as women, we try to give to the point where we have nothing. And then really what we're giving birth to is not positive. It's not life-giving. It's the exact opposite of the intention and motive, which is to give life and bring life and inspire life to those who come across our path. So I dig, like, I gotta be still in order to help you be still and know who you are. And so this thing about first you place your oxygen mask on, and then you can help your neighbor, your friend, your man, your kid, your spouse, your employee, whatever.
But you're right. That's hard for.
And it's hard. How do you do it? You make a deliberate.
You got your kid with you, and you're right. Yeah. But you're right. It's a deliberate. But it's that rest. It's that stop.
I call it the Control-Alt-Delete moment.
Perfect.
Where you can steal it.
Love it.
Because
I'm writing it down.
If you've stolen from me, you've stolen twice. So.
Control-Alt-Delete. Love it.
But it's true. That moment of just kind of rebooting. Okay, we got everything cleared off the desktop. Yeah. There's nothing minimized. We just turn off the computer, let it come back on, and start fresh.
And I think it even gives you the warning on mine that says, lock this down, and you're going, that's what I'm talking about. Like, you have to click on that, because it's even the way it is in life. Like, are you really going to do this? Are you really going to go there?
Right.
To the control. Are you going to, because it's like and you got to it's not a pause, it's a stop.
Yep.
Right.
It's the stop.
It'll come right back on again.
Absolutely.
But at least you had that pause.
That's exactly right.
So what do you suggest? Finding a specific time during the week, that, and to celebrate your own efforts. I mean, it doesn't just have to be on Labor Day.
Sure.
You should, everybody needs that, like you said, everybody needs that downtime. You need to stop. You need to, be thankful for your help. And look back and feel that sense of accomplishment. I labored over this week, whether it was a huge decision that took you out mentally or your normal job or whatever. I labored over this week. I'm going to, celebrate that, celebrate my accomplishment, and you should do that often for yourself. You should do it for yourself.
And I think anybody who does it would admit to you, unequivocally, that they are better than they were when they didn't.
Right.
And I don't know anybody who doesn't allow themselves that time and then fall away from the ritual.
Right.
Because I think by nature we are not human beings. We are human doings. And I just know that for me, I make it a point. I mean, I think my kids would either be in the bottom of Lake Geneva or I would be institutionalized. And I'll tell my kids that. Like, you don't understand. Like, I'm doing my Bible study. Get out of here. Like, I'm freaking out.
It brings you the sense of peace and accomplishment.
That's exactly
And you should do it on a regular basis.
Not just
That's
tomorrow.
our message,
Yeah.
right?
Not just tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yes,
And
not just once a year.
And it's easy to judge how other people should be doing that. Like, oh, they need to really take a quiet time. And the reality is, if not you, then who?
Right.
If not you, then who?
Yeah. Judy,
Thank you,
thanks.
Judy.
Thanks for having me. I'm so jacked.
Yeah.
She always comes in nervous, and then by the end of the show, I don't care if it's 9:05. We keep talking.
Let's keep talking. That's what I'm talking about.
We don't need to play no
Who needs to
stinking
hear
music.
Michael Bublé for the 437th time? I don't know why you became African American all of a sudden. I don't know where that voice came from. But.
Dave, he's so odd. If it's not his weird clown voice, it's God knows what.
Thank you, Judy. Good to see you again. Enjoy your weekend. We'll see you again before the show, I assume.
Yes.
Coming back?
If I get an invitation, I will come.
Yes, she's coming back on in a couple weeks. We'll have a really good preview of her show, and then October 2nd, starting half an hour before our show starts at 7:30. She's going to open up for us for a while.
Excellent.
Sweet.
More Life Matters next with Dave and Nancy, only on your radio. Lake 96.1.
Okay, that's all the time we have. Thanks for listening to Life Matters with Dave and Nancy today. See you later at the fair, at the Doobie Brothers concert, and all day, of course. Joni and Stacy will both be out there all day.
Joni Myers at the fair. Well, she's here now. She'll be taking the speed racer to the fair.
We morph her to the fair.
Between 12 and 3. Stacy K live at the Walworth County Fair between 3 and 6. The first 10 minutes of every hour. Stop by the Lake 96.1 booth in front of the log cabin across from the machine equipment. You can't miss it and win prizes. And then, yes, we'll be at the Doobie Brothers show later on tonight. If you're going to be there, I'd love to say hi.
Have a great Sunday. Have a great day off tomorrow. Hopefully you're not working and you're getting to enjoy Labor Day, just as Judy described it, as it should be. Thanks to her for all of that information, and to Cindy Ludo for coming on. We'll see you later, same time, same place next week. You're listening to Life Matters with Dave and Nancy right here on Lake 96.1. On Lake 96.1.